Listen up, all fight fans and fitness junkies. You've been listening to me talk about Jocko Fuel for a while now, and if you've been waiting, the wait is over. This August, you can score a massive 30% off on all of Jocko Fuel's top-tier supplements. That's right, 30% off. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all of the good stuff and none of the bad. We're talking no added sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. And guys, I really want you to try some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. This deal is only going to be available for the month of August. So use code Chael30 or go to JockoFuel.com. Don't wait. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Guys, click on the link below to make it happen. Jiri Prochazka dipped his toe in the waters of going down to 185 pounds, even made a brief comment about Du Plessis. Said he wouldn't stay there, said he popped down, fight for the championship, go back up, and I love the idea. I don't know what is going on with Jiri fully. But there appears that 185 pounds, I mean, listen, changing weight classes is the single best way to get a fresh coat of paint in this sport. The sport's very different. It's all collective. I mean, nobody else has to do this. Basketball, football, baseball. I came from wrestling. It didn't matter if I was a freshman in high school switching to a sophomore, if I was a freshman in college switching to sophomore, junior, senior. It didn't matter. Every time there was a new season, I'm undefeated. I would be introduced as such. Get 3 wins, 3-0 on the season. Undefeated, whatever it was, but you get to restart that clock. In MMA, it's not that way. Those losses will follow you. And switching weights is a very effective way. It is how you become undefeated. It's the only way to become an undefeated middleweight, just for example. I like the idea. Jiri is not without a home at 205 pounds. There is a fan base that is coming on board. The samurai gimmick in that angle is working. He is a phenomenal athlete and he's wildly tough. I mean, a really true competitor. But like we've seen with so many others, if you've had a chance and you had it twice, you're not going to get it a third time. Broad stroke. But do you think that Pierre is going to get beat? I mean, a great way to succeed at anything, guys, is to just outlast the guy standing next to you. One of the great ways to make it, particularly in sport, is to find a way to hang in there a little longer, one more season, one more quad, one more tournament, one more Olympic cycle, whatever it is, and just let the other guys stop. But it's not much of a strategy. Like, you'll find yourself in life, well, what do you want to do when you get out of college? Just for example, well, I hope, and whatever comes after that, you got to stop a guy. Hope's a wonderful thing. Hope will get you up in the morning, but hope is not a strategy. So, I like the idea of Prochazka looking at something. I can't tell you that he doesn't draw. I just can't. I know he didn't used to draw, but I can't tell you that's the case now. I do have to look at 2 Decembers ago, when he was out for 7 days and they took a belt off him for what was said to be the worst injury ever seen. And 1 month later, according to his own Instagram, he was back in the gym and training. A belt was taken from him that he never lost. It was taken from him after 7 days. In 7 days, there's no such thing. You could be shot in the leg. In 7 days, you still have nothing. You just have a rumor. You just have a guess. You just have a diagnosis. You just have an MRI. You just have an X-ray. You have nothing in 7 days. Everybody is giving a deep breath. They took the belt off of him. So this is how poorly he was resonating and drawing. This was simultaneous with the heavyweight champion at that point having sat 9.5 months and kept his belt. So I share that and I bring that to you because he also is a former champion, regardless of the interest. He also is one half, oh, and by the way, the winning half of the greatest light heavyweight title fight in the sport's history. He also has been in meaningful bouts in the home of mixed martial arts, which is T-Mobile. He's been in meaningful bouts at the Mecca of Madison Square Garden. So, and the reason I go in all of those directions, I mean, listen, if your promoter doesn't have a plan for you, you've got to identify that now. I mean, you've got to be able to see that right now. And I don't know that that's the case with Jiri. I think they're just in a tough spot where he was given a chance, he was given another chance. You got the same guy at the helm. What is the path back? And so many guys face this, which, I mean, just adding as support, I like the idea of 185 pounds. The bad news, when I talk about he can't draw, when I talk about you're gonna pull a belt off a guy, I mean, the most reluctant rematch in company history was Jiri versus Glover. They did everything in the world they could do to not have to make that fight because neither guy knew how to do anything that resembled bringing attention to the fight. So, but you got to know this, right? You got to understand all the pieces of the story because there was really nothing I did not like of fascinating, of closing my eyes and just imagining Prochazka against Du Plessis. I mean, Dricus, and the word on him is that he does everything wrong and gets away with it. Well, if you do everything wrong and you get away with it, that just means you're an awkward fighter. And awkward can be a real advantage. But what's a little bit harder for you guys to see is the will of Dricus. It's how hard he is pressing. It's the way he responds after he takes a big shot. That instead of wilting or shake it off or get your legs back, get a little space, he will come forward and attack. And these are the same compliments that guys say about Prochazka. That his will in there to win. And now you're just talking about how well does a guy compete. And it's not about how good of a fighter is, how good of a boxer he is, how good of a wrestler, how good of a competitor is he. And the guys that have competed against Prochazka come out, they go in the back, they tell, hey, this guy's got a very rare spirit. So, conceptually, I'm really into it. I got to tell you, I am really into that idea. Not to mention, Du Plessis is in a very rare spot where 1 or 2 title defenses in, and he's going to be lapping a division. I mean, it was just the way that he got to the championship. He had already gone through the top guys. So now we're already looking to recycle. His next opponent is a rematch. The one after that, should Whitaker find a way, is going to be a rematch. I'm just sharing with you, like, it is such a great idea to have Prochazka come down. It is such a fast track to a championship opportunity. I'm reading this thing by Prochazka. Now, the whole time, it's wishful thinking because I know I'm dealing with a guy who can't manage an interview. And a guy will pay money. He'll pay 10% to have somebody show him a jab, show him a cross, show him a kick up the middle. He'll pay 10% to a manager to help him know what this paragraph and what this subsection means. But he would never even consider hiring somebody in what's called creative development. It would never even cross his mind to consult. 20%'s going out the door, right? That's just an industry standard. Uncle Sugar comes in, takes their 48.3% right at the top, right? Like you're used to giving money. It would never cross his mind to bring in somebody that's creative to help him in these moments. Because while I'm reading this, I'm thinking, wow, this is really great. Somebody got a hold of him. Somebody told him, right? I mean, this is how you start. This is how these things happen. You shake it. You shake it as an idea. You wait to see what comes back. And in the very next sentence, he says, and then I will go back up to 205 pounds. in the very next sentence. So, there's guys in this sport that aren't going to like how their next match goes. And those are the guys that have said, my next match will be my last match. You're not going to like where that goes. There's guys in the sport that don't like how their next match goes. There are guys that are going to fight out their contract and bet on themselves or renegotiate with the company, and you know it because they go and they do those things publicly. They're not going to like how the next one goes. They're not going to like the placement and the opportunity that they're given. And we have had the biggest names, not just a solid guy. We've had the biggest names want to come back for one more. World champions that never lost their belt. Box office smash hits that want to come back for one more, but they make the mistake of saying one more. They don't make the commitment. 2 and 3 fights down. I guarantee you 3 fights. I'm going to win. I'm going to defend. I'm going to defend again. They don't make those. And there's no use for anybody that's looking to come in on one night. And there are so many guys within this sport that believe it's about medals. And it was in Little League. It was in the amateurs. It was when you were a kid. But this is a business. And business is not done, particularly in this organization, with checkers, which is one move at a time. We don't see a lot of guys change weights and have success if they don't burn their boats in the first place, which means relinquish one title and come in so that you have to win. It's one of these things. So I loved it. I loved everything about Prochazka coming down. I believe that would be the headline. I believe that would be the top story. It was a pretty boring news week. But he said within the same interview, and then I'll go back to 205. So there'll be no opportunity to come to 85. And once you say those words, you can't take it back. And if you try to take it back, you try to go, oh my God, Chael, you're so right, and I'll do it. Okay. But just so you understand, you're now going to come down into what's known as a contenders match. You're not coming down into a title fight, which you could have. It's now, we're not going to trust you to stick around because you've realized the mistake you made. We're going to get our money on the front ends, which means a number one contenders match. And it's just one of these spots that didn't have to happen. If you're doing an interview just to make sound or to be polite, maybe a guy calls and you feel pressured. Maybe it was a favor. I don't understand that. To get nothing, you can do nothing. If you don't have a story, if you don't have a direction that you're trying to go, don't do the interview. And if you do an interview that's going to spark attention, it's going to invoke the current sitting reigning champion who, by the way, doesn't want to do rematches. He doesn't want to fight Sean Strickland. He does not want to fight Robert Whittaker. He's already fought them. Nobody wants to fight the same guys over and over. You would have offered new blood in a division. You would have stolen the headlines had you not said that I'm going to go back up to 205.